They were separated. She moved out and was interested in someone else. But now
We are in stage 5. We're doing well. We're communicating all the time. I get good morning, I love you texts. I get good night, I love you texts. We talk several times throughout the day. We're making plans. We're talking about our future. We've got some vacations planned together that we're both excited for.
in this video, I'll walk you through the 5 steps that Jairus took to transform his relationship. And the third step is a move most men never think to make. But when he did it, her walls cracked wide open.
And that instantly broke us through from stage like 1, 2 to stage 3. And she just opened to me.
Let's jump in. Jairus and his partner had both been married before. They each had kids from their previous marriages. So what happened next is something that happens to a lot of men in this situation. He had constant conflict with his partner's oldest son until one fight made everything worse.
In April, there was April of last year, there was a really bad fight between me and her oldest. And even though I apologized, he treated it like I didn't and
Mm,
complained to her and her therapist like I didn't,
mm.
and was complaining that he didn't feel safe. And that led to, reports and files and things. There was no like physical altercation. It just became, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe to anyone that would listen. And she got really scared, and I didn't know what to do because even when I apologize, it's just met with like resistance.
That moment hit Jairus hard.
I shut down when that happened. I'm not proud of it, but I really shut down hard. And Brittany couldn't figure out how to make it work.
Their relationship was already rocky, but now it was really falling apart. And he wasn't just losing her. He was losing her to outside voices too.
And so she moved out last September. She never once considered moving out. It was her therapist's idea, but she ran with it. It was her right to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting when I hear that stuff from therapists, but anyways, okay.
As a licensed therapist myself, I know some therapists really mean well, but sometimes the advice they give is often misguided and they don't understand the full picture of things. Regardless, now he was on his own. He needed a plan to stop making things worse, and he needed it fast. But nothing prepared him for what came next. The moment he realized there was another guy in the picture, that's what broke him completely.
That was the lowest I'd ever been. Not actually when she moved out, but a few months after that when she started talking to another guy. That's what did it. That's what precipitated me joining the program.
So I'm so glad he found us, because the first step he learned was how to shed the pressure that she could feel in every interaction. And when that pressure lifted, so did her resistance. Even while they were living apart, she started seeing him differently. Here it is in his words.
I was the nice guy. I was dealing with, or not dealing with, I was living inside of a bunch of covert contracts. I didn't know myself very well. I certainly didn't know my values or that I wasn't living by them. I was taking things personally. It was bad all around.
Jairus had unknowingly fallen into the void-filling patterns. These are the nice guy habits, unspoken expectations, and the constant need for reassurance that create hidden pressure in the relationship. And so they slowly decay and drain all the traction between you two. You see, Jairus, like most men, didn't really know his values. He took everything personally, and like so many other men, he thought being agreeable and keeping the peace would make her want him again. But here's the reality. It made her emotionally unsafe. Let me give you an analogy that makes sense with this. Think of it like a leaky cup, okay? You can keep pouring in your time, your energy, your sacrifice, thinking really that's what it takes to fix the relationship. But if your cup is leaking at the bottom, you're giving from a place of really emptiness. And those holes in your own psyche are your unprocessed wounds, your false beliefs from childhood, and the quiet stories that really say how you have to earn love by abandoning yourself in the process. So until you really patch up those wounds and really heal, no matter what you do, you'll never feel like you really give enough to her, So how do you break the pattern of sabotage? It takes a while to really heal the leak, by the way. And that's what we do. So if you want to, heal those holes in your psyche, like Jairus did, click the link down below, set up a call with our team. All right, so how did he break free from the patterns that really sabotaged far too many men?
Well, the book did wonders. The book just opened my eyes. Became the meat and potatoes of my first two CLC letters,
Okay. Yeah.
which were really pivotal in getting me out of stage one. Because at that point, we were barely talking. And that
Yeah.
was tough going, someone I'd been with nearly every day for 7 years to not talking or speaking a word back and forth for weeks at a time. Like, you can't know how much that hurts till it happens.
He's talking about the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. It's one of the few outside tools we actually give guys within the program, and I'm really breaking down the concepts and applying it practically to your life. You see, once those old patterns were gone, Jairus had space to step up and start applying this next principle. It's the aspect of yourself she'd wish you did from the very beginning. And when you hear how Jairus mastered it, quickly by the way, you'll be shocked, just utterly shocked at how easy it is to flip her emotions around just like that. We call this assertive leadership. Listen as Jairus explains it.
I am seeing a lot of benefit by taking more of the lead in the relationship, scheduling dates, scheduling good opportunities to get together.
When Jairus stopped waiting for her to guide and took masculine leadership, it allowed her to soften and relax into a happier and more feminine state. He didn't just plan time together with her. He stepped up daily and fully embodied, right? To embody it. Think of that word, what it really means to lead your wife in every interaction. It's not tactics or tricks or techniques. Everything you do is a leader, not just day by day, but in the entire life that you have as a man. And in doing so, when you are a leader, he made space for her to feel emotionally safe again. I can't emphasize how important that is. There's actually research that backs this up. One study on attachment shows that when one partner is emotionally overwhelmed, they instinctively look for a safe haven or a grounded, consistent presence. That's what a parent or a good parent is. And that's what a masculine leader provides. And when she feels it, her system relaxes. And listen how she responds when Jairus stepped up into that role.
And she is mirroring that in some really nice ways. She actually, 3 weeks ago, she got us tickets to a candlelight string orchestra that does like remixes of Coldplay songs and other
Pretty cool.
songs. Yeah, like Black Tie.
Ads for those. Yeah, that's really those.
Yeah, Black Tie sort of thing. Like that was super cool.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see her initiate that.
The candlelight concert was a sign that she felt safe enough leaning back in. And when a man leads from wholeness and calm authority, she softens. It is the positive polarity that you create in your masculine and that she goes into her feminine. When you are more masculine, you're leading, you're unreactive. She feels safer and she relaxes into her feminine. And thus, in that polarity, attraction, which is a closing together, occurs. But as cool as that was to see, there was one shift that unlocked something even deeper than that. It is a move that a lot of men actually overlook, and the one I mentioned earlier. And you may have caught it in the first step, but it's about who Jairus chose to be when no one was watching.
What would you say is one of the most powerful lessons that got you to where you are internally now that you learned across this?
Being able to hone my values down to like my top three, really being able to label them, articulate them, being able to do that.
See, Jairus is talking about lived values. What this means is identifying what matters to you most and aligning your daily actions with those principles. This creates consistency in who you are as a man. It's not about having the right answers, by the way. You don't need that all the time. It's about becoming a man who lives with clarity, integrity, and really follow through, actually. And this triggers her sense of safety. It triggers a sense of safety. And if you can tell by now, that is the most important thing she needs with you. What so many men have screwed up with their wives. Not feeling safe, not feeling led, not feeling protected, okay? And that shift lays the foundation for trust because she can feel when your actions are matching not just your words, but who you are. Like everything that pours out of you is consistent, AKA safe. Consistency is safety, right? Now, Jairus could tell you his values as easily as his children's names.
Which, for the record, my values are trust, empathy, and growth.
But getting there wasn't easy. It took real work, a lot of reflection, overcoming resistance, and, of course, persistence, which I know you have persistence.
I was on this crazy growth curve in the program. I was digging into all of the videos and the homework and really spending time in it, really letting it break me down. But when I got to the one about values, I hit a wall. I couldn't just make myself get through it. I couldn't just dig deep and produce them. I probably floundered I don't know if that's the right word, for about a month, not really being able to regain that momentum.
Then something just, I love snapping, right? But it just really clicked.
But then somewhere later on, one of the questions was to produce three values that you want in your marriage, like three boundaries, three values, and three beliefs, I think, for your marriage. And so I'm typing it out and I'm typing it out, and I get to the three values, and it's just pouring at me, right?
Mm,
I'm writing pages of what's important to me. And I'm looking at it going, okay, that can be summed up as this value, and that can be summed up as this value, and then this definite value. And then as soon as I was done, I had this like light bulb aha moment going, oh, what I want in a relationship, I just want for me in general. Like they're the same three values. And that's when it all clicked.
See, he discovered who he really was. I mean, what a gift. And he chose to live from that place of who he discovered who he was. And that's the biggest gift I would argue that you can ever have in this world, to authentically live to who you are.
The very first time she invited me over since it had been like 4 months since I'd seen her. But we were talking again a little bit. The CLCs broke that ice. When she finally invited me over to just like have a conversation,
mhm,
that was like 3 days after I'd been able to identify my values.
mm,
So it was very fresh of mind. So rather than writing a CLC, I had a verbal and I
yeah.
talked her through all that. And that instantly broke us through from stage like 1, 2 to stage 3.
Mm,
And she just opened to me.
Now, this is why values can't just live in your head. They have to show up every day in your actions. You see, when a man, yourself, aligns with what he truly stands for, it builds an internal clarity. And that's what confidence is. And that's what's sexy to a woman, okay? And women feel that congruence. That's why it doesn't matter what your job is, how much money you make. They want that. That's what creates safety and respect towards you. And again, I'm going to say, because this is so important, if you struggled with that, if you need the next step, if you realize you don't know what you don't know, and you learn something from these videos, set up a free call with our team. On that call, we're going to give you a detailed guided strategy on your scenario. Just make sure you are fully committed to making change, okay? Now with this next step, because without alignment, your apologies and promises feel hollow. So for this next point, this next principle, we call it unfiltered ownership.
She felt so safe when I was able to say, here are my values. Here's how I failed to live to them in our relationship. Here's how that failure affected you. Here's how it affected both of your sons. Here's how it affected my kids. It's not your fault. I wasn't living to my values before I met you. And that was powerful. That was powerful. That was the key pivotal moment for me individually and for us in our relationship.
Now this is when you take radical 100% responsibility, not just for your actions, but for the impact those actions have on others.
I want to stay here for a second because that right there is extreme ownership, right?
Sure.
But it's like it's pretty much the opposite of like that ego of like you're her fault, not me, not me, not me. And you're like, this is about me and what I've done.
But owning your past and your role in the marriage falling apart, it doesn't mean beating yourself up. So many men take it to that place of shame of just I'm going to beat myself up. It means facing it fully without blame and without getting lost in guilt. Now, a lot of men avoid this step because they think admitting mistakes really, it just makes them unworthy somehow or less than. That's so far from the truth. True ownership starts with something else. Listen to our conversation.
How are you able to do that and not think like, oh, I'm worthless or I'm not good enough? Because that's what stops a lot of guys from going to that place, is like by admitting those things, like it's saying that I'm not good enough. How did you not step into that?
Probably because of how the course is built, starting with forgiveness. There's a lot of self-forgiveness that occurred for things I didn't know, how I was set up for failure, my own naivete, how I was raised. Um, a lot of things just not knowing any better. There was a lot of self-forgiveness and exploration there. The breath work was big, in the forgiveness in particular.
Yeah.
So I think that I wasn't, like, if I'd have jumped straight to there and leapt over all of that work, I probably would have, or resisted it because of those feelings.
You see, self-forgiveness is what made it possible for Jairus to speak from strength and not shame. So while you're on this journey, remember to go easy on yourself, okay? Go hard on yourself in the level of responsibility, but easy on yourself in how much you beat yourself up. There's a paradox there, but I think you can get it, all right? And here's the final step. And it only happens when you make this radical mindset shift. One that we've seen flips the whole relationship dynamic around and pulls her back in without you chasing her, forcing it, convincing, using logic. Listen to what Jairus did next.
About at this point when things started feeling a little bit better, but she was very much in that dual mindset, kind of back and forth. I wanted to schedule a trip. I really wanted that, because when she was feeling good, she'd talk about taking trips and things like that, but I didn't know how she'd feel when the time actually came to pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to schedule a trip that was completely paid for, and all she had to do was decide to go or not. And if
Mm-hmm.
she went, great. If she didn't, great. Because it
Mm-hmm.
was a trip that I was really excited about. And I knew that she would enjoy it if she went,
Yeah.
but there was zero obligation.
Right. Right.
This last step, it's more like a giant leap that I call emotional detachment. I'm not suggesting that you give up on her, okay? This is about, so you're holding tight. This is about releasing control over what she does so you can reclaim control over how you live, okay? Your own actions. That solo Cancun trip, it wasn't a tactic or a trick or a technique. It was a reflection of who he had become, his ability to go somewhere for himself and enjoy himself, to enjoy life without her again. He wasn't waiting or chasing. He was at peace, whether she came or not. And that's often the paradox. Because, listen, man, the moment you stop being needy, she comes back. Okay, so what happened with that trip to Cancun?
At first, she said yes. And then 2 weeks later, she said no. And she kind of yo-yoed back and forth. And then it became no, like I actually can't. Turns out she had a couple other obligations that she wanted to hold. And that was her right to do it. I wasn't going to tell her, don't fulfill your obligations, come with me.
Right.
So,
Exactly. That might have worked, but yeah.
so I went, and it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I had been working on myself for quite a while. I was feeling great. I was getting out, and I can't tell you the number of times I found myself in a group of people that could not speak English, and we were all just vibing. Like, it was really good. This was me being me because I intentionally did that work and created that for myself.
Jairus wasn't chasing her anymore, was he? He was stepping into his core masculine center. Calm, grounded, right? Clear on who he was and what he wanted without focusing on the outcome. More on the process of who he was becoming. That's what shifted. If you can take the same steps as him, I don't see a way that you won't gain success in your life. That you won't, at least in the very least, become a man that you look back on with so much pride. And everyone in your life deserves that man. I'll see you soon.